in New York City, police say 100,000 people turned out at multiple marches. They report no arrests. There were more than 2,600 events from coast to coast. They are all part of the No Kings movement, which accuses the president of behaving more like a monarch than an elected official.
Trump's secret sauce is being normalized. When he's normalized, he wins. He literally lies every time he opens his mouth. The media no longer checks him on any of his lies. We've so normalized him. We shrug our shoulders and say, oh, that's Trump. It's a really bad thing for America.
7 million Americans in more than 2,700 cities, both large and small, came out to support the No Kings protest. That makes it the largest single-day protest in American history. Welcome to the Sanity Podcast. Dave and Alisyn here to break down what was a massive weekend. But Alisyn, where does it lead? We're both a bit skeptical.
Well, we have the perfect guest to talk about that. So former Congressman Joe Walsh, he was once a Tea Party ringleader. MAGA, briefly, MAGA, and then he became a convert and he saw the writing on the wall, and it was Donald Trump's behavior that really, I think, spooked him and made him wake up, and he left the party, the Republican Party, quite publicly, and then he actually recently joined the Democratic Party. And so he has experience with grassroots groundswells and what happens. The Tea Party started this way and became quite effective, as you and I remember reporting on it for all the times on Fox. And so our question to him was, what now? How do you harness the energy of those 7 million people? What can they do with it to make change? What makes an impact? So here's Joe Walsh.
Great. By all accounts, the largest single-day protest in U.S. history over the weekend. 7 million Americans came out to more than 2,500 protests around the country. Big cities, small towns, you name it. No Kings was the theme. Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh was there. He joins the Sanity Podcast now with Dave and Alisyn. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends, folks. Good to see you, sir. This was an astonishing day over the weekend. Tell us really what the message was of these No Kings protests.
Dave, Alisyn, good to be with you. So I caught a bit of flack at the end of last week before the No Kings rally, because I said something and posted something to everybody saying, leave your Palestinian flags at home. Leave all of your I got a little shit for that. Leave all of your personal policy demands at home. This is all about democracy and the rule of law, defending democracy. And generally that held. I was in D.C., my God, a couple 100,000 people. And yeah, you had random whatever, but generally it was a happy, joyous crowd, and everybody seemed to be there on the ground, upset about a dictator in the White House and wanting to defend democracy. It was really cool.
Joe, I mean, one of the things we love about you is that you're unfiltered. So you're constantly getting in trouble, which is, amusing and
Yes,
I think
yeah.
often effective. But I understand the message. The message that you just described was powerful enough that 7 million people left their homes, the comfort of their homes, made signs, went out into whatever weather was happening in whatever town they were in across the country, and marched for hours. And, I think I can't underscore enough the motivation that people have for wanting to send a message. But beyond the message, what is the impact, Joe? I mean, really, what does this do? What do they get for all of their hard work this weekend?
Alisyn, that's a really cool question. And I come from the Tea Party, and there's a Tea Party vibe of the Tea Party in the early days. It was grassroots. It was from the ground up, and the Tea Party folk, we just got out there. I'd answer it this way. The one really good thing about Donald Trump, and there's only one, is because he's so bad, he's forcing us in real time to decide what kind of country we want to be. I think that's what's getting people out. Like, because he's doing all of this shit in the last 9-10 months. And he's going after his political opponents, and he's silencing free speech, and he's disappearing brown and black people off of our streets. Because he's actually doing this stuff, people have to decide. And I think coming out and protesting and making your handwritten signs and doing all of that, I think this is step one in people deciding, look, I want a secure border, but this isn't what I voted for. This isn't the kind of country I want. So I think the value is it's an uprising. It's a resistance movement that, let me tell you something, Democrats didn't see the Tea Party coming in 2010. They should have been scared to death and paid attention. I don't think Republicans see what this thing is.
What is the president doing that is authoritarian, that is undemocratic, hence the term no kings?
You and I think, Alisyn, Dave, we have like a hard 30-minute cutoff. Dave Briggs, we don't have enough time to get, I'll give you two. He's ignoring laws that Congress passes. He's saying screw, he's saying screw any spending that Congress has authorized. The President of the United States has no right. Congress passes a law, says the spending for this program, the president can't decide I'm going to or not going to spend that. He's doing that. He's defying the Constitution by trying to eliminate entire federal programs. He's taken over the Justice Department and is going after his political enemies. He's trying to silence speech all over the place. He's denying student visas to people who criticize Charlie Kirk. I could go on and on and on. I think there is a fear that we've never in my lifetime, Dave, seen a president exhibit this much authoritarian power.
I think it's interesting, Joe, that you were likening it to the Tea Party because it's a grassroots uprising, and we know that can then be powerful if you harness it. So what can they do? Let's pretend that these organizers of the 7 million people who turned out, they can do what? To prepare for the midterms? They can... I mean, I think that Trump, we can get to that disgusting AI video that was so appalling, but I think that they can just ignore these 7 million people and try to marginalize them and call them names.
Yeah, true. But these 7 million people represent what? Like, again, I go back to the Tea Party movement, of which I sprung from. I sprung from the Tea Party's loins. Yes. It wasn't as big as this. This is bigger. And the Tea Party wave overtook the Democrats in those first midterms after Obama got elected. And I think, Alisyn, we can tell how the potential power here by how the Republicans are reacting to it. All of last week, the last couple of weeks, this is Antifa. It's a bunch of hate America people. They are terrorists. You had Republican members of Congress call these people terrorists. They were scared to death. They wanted violence. They wanted this thing to be violent. They wanted to see Palestinian flags everywhere. None of that happened. And so then Republicans came on television yesterday and said it was just a bunch of old white people. So they're grasping. I think they do sense that this is organic and it's a big deal. Alisyn, it doesn't mean shit if it doesn't coalesce into something organized and lead to people voting in unbelievable numbers in 2026. And I think that's the goal and the aim, but it's got to start with energy. It's got to start with what we saw on Saturday.
Doesn't it have to have policy attached to it? It may have been a false premise, but the Tea Party, at least I believe, was about smaller government spending. Now Republicans turned out they love massive government and massive deficit spending. But in the beginning, it seemed to have principle attached to it and showed the numbers in Congress. What are the policies, if any, attached to this movement? Who might be the leaders?
I think, Dave, and that's a really cool question, I would answer it by saying no, because look, we in the Tea Party, yeah, we were worried about the debt, the size of government, but we also were worried about the Constitution and the rule of law, and we worried about a government tyrant. And every time Barack Obama looked at his phone or his pen and was going to sign an executive order, we all in the Tea Party went crazy. Well, I mean, my God, 10, 11 years later, this is like tyranny on steroids. So I think because Trump is 1,000 times more of a tyrant than Obama could have ever imagined, I think that carries the day. He's doing things that no president has ever done. So I think the power of that, and you may disagree with me, but because it's so overwhelming that I think the reaction to that, the disgust with that, I think is going to carry the day. I agree with you in general that Democrats, my new party, and they got issues, they're messed up. They got to present something. They can no longer just win by saying Trump is bad. But if Trump is doing this shit, he's really bad, and that's got to be spoken to.
Joe, I think that you share my anxiety, which I've had since the day he was elected, that he will cancel the midterms, that we will not have the
Completely.
midterms, and we won't have another presidential election. I don't think people say he's not going to run for another term. Oh, I know he's not going to run for another term, but there will not be another presidential election as long as he's, in power. So I think that that is the goal. And the reason that I think that is not just sheer paranoia, it's that he has a long track record of cheating. That's how he gets what he wants. He cheats in golf. He cheats on his wives. He cheats to call the Georgia Secretary of State to find more votes. I could spend the next half an hour talking about all the demonstrable ways in public that he has cheated. So what are we doing today about this? What's the plan?
Yeah. And again, the atmosphere on Saturday, No Kings on the Street, was joyous. Everybody was a happy warrior, man. Love, 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 love America. But Alisyn, I went on with Ali Velshi yesterday and made that point. Great to be happy and to get out there and rally. But do I have to watch my language?
Nope.
No.
Thanks. We have a fucking guy in the White House who I believe, Alisyn, is going to do everything he can to fuck with the midterms and to try to put them off. I mean, think about that. This is a really scary, scary time. He's cheating right now in real time, mid-decade redistricting. Hello? He calls up Abbott 3 months ago, the governor of Texas, and says, a redistrict. I want 5 more seats. And this starts this whole thing. He's put an election denier in charge of our election security at the Department of Homeland Security. You're right. He's putting the military on our streets for one reason, because he wants them out there during the election next year. He wants riots and violence on the streets. He wants to invoke the Insurrection Act. He wants to say there's too much fucking chaos. We can't have an election. That's what he wants to do. What can we do about it? Hopefully, Alisyn, the courts will hold. But man, it's going to come down to the American people, again, coming out in droves and saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, I've said many times the Supreme Court has no enforcement mechanism, none whatsoever. If he chooses to ignore those laws, there is nothing technically stopping him. Here's how the president described the rallies you attended across the country. We have to bootleg this because my system's down with this massive outage. Listen, let's get it all queued up. Here's Trump.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
All right, Joe, what do you make of the president's description of the No Kings rally?
So I generally don't listen to anything he says because he lies as he opens his mouth. Here's one other really interesting thing I'll say, though, guys. I spoke at the last New Kings in June, and there were more people out this time than then. Here's the other difference I saw. There were so many people who came out who didn't even think about coming out in June. I've heard from hundreds of independents and conservatives who got out and rallied on No King's Day. So it was a different, more diverse crowd politically it was bigger. It was not just on the left. It was not just progressives. I think that's really, really important. Look, Trump doesn't know. Listen to what other Republicans say. They will tell you how worried they are. Speaker Johnson, I think, was out again this morning, and he said, just a bunch of old people who really don't know what's going on. They're going to grasp at what this is.
Joe, how about what he just said? We think George Soros was paying for the signs. So George Soros picked up the tab at Kinko's across the country. Wow. They assign a lot of special powers to George Soros. That guy's working overtime in their boogeyman, annals. It's crazy what he just said there.
And I used to do that, Alisyn. I used to always tap that George Soros button because on talk radio, man, nothing got my audience going more than saying George Soros was behind it. And look, his folks will believe it. His voters will believe it. But it's not about his voters. The midterms are going to be about all those people in the middle. Dave Briggs, you and I have talked about this, who are not part of his hardcore MAGA base, and they voted for him knowing he's an asshole, but the Democrats suck, the border's broken, eggs are too expensive. These are the voters that are turned off by the cruelty and the ugliness that Trump's doing right now. That's what we got to.
But you just brought up the key point. I don't think Carville's still fucking right. It's still the economy, stupid. And although I could get into the details that I see some warning signs, generally speaking, it seems like there is some content that did not exist in the latter months of the Biden administration regarding inflation and the cost of eggs and the cost of groceries and things of that nature, gas. Do you think there is real concern over the economy and pocketbook issues among Americans?
Yes. Oh my God, Dave. And when you actually look at the data, I mean, Trump was handed the strongest post-COVID economy in the industrialized world. His tariff madness and his deportations, by the way, are really impacting the economy. Inflation is rising. The price of damn near everything is almost a direct line from when he started his tariff stuff. I agree with you that economic pain, I think, is the only thing that could move his hardcore voters. But I know Carville, they're all smarter than I am. I think what he's doing on the streets with ICE, most Americans are not cruel. It's your business, Alisyn and Dave, but the average American who doesn't pay attention to politics, these videos of these mass federal agents beating people up on the streets, grabbing 80-year-old Latino grandmoms and throwing them into unmarked vans, these videos and images are seeping into popular culture. I think that's going to have a real impact on the election.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Joe, because I do think the cruelty is a tell.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cruelty is a giveaway. I think that the nastiness, the toxicity, they don't have to do that. So why are they doing that? In other words, sometimes when I listen to the right wing MAGA sphere on podcasts, or I listen to Donald Trump or JD Vance, I think, you guys won. This is how you act as the winners. You guys won. You control Congress. You have the presidency. And you're this mad and you're this toxic. So what is it? So, really, to me, it's just power. That's just the explanation. And that the cruelty comes with that unchecked power.
Yeah. And Alisyn, I can tell you, because I know some of them, it's the people around Trump who this is part of the whole Project 2025. Trump still doesn't know what the hell Project 2025 is. The people around him do.
Like who? Stephen Miller? I mean, like, who do you think is driving the
Russ Vought and Steve Miller? If I
Dave
can
nailed it.
Those are the only two
Dave
guys
nailed it.
that matter in that administration.
Those,
they are every fucking string imaginable.
Dave Briggs is right. Those two guys are driving this. And a big part of the MAGA right, and it's where I come from, is the notion that America needs to be a white Christian country again. It's a big part of what animates Project 2025. So they got to go out there and show images of grabbing brown and black people off the streets. Again, Alisyn, you're right. I'll remind everybody, Barack Obama deported more people, way more than Trump is deporting now. Barack Obama didn't put it on film. Barack Obama didn't, right, have videos out there with his ICE agents. For Trump, it's all about the cruelty. He's trying to scare immigrants into not wanting to come here. And by the way, that's the America he's created, because nobody wants to come here anymore. But he wants his base to know he's targeting brown and black people.
I shouldn't leave out Brendan Carr. I feel bad that I left Brendan out of the conversation. I think he deserves to be probably number 3 on that list. He is the head of the FCC, who may have been one of the original architects of Project 2025. But Joe, here's the thing. I still contend President Trump would beat Kamala Harris right fucking now, because she was the wrong candidate and they still have the wrong leadership. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer cannot lead this country, lead this movement, lead an electoral victory in 2026. Doesn't the party need different leadership?
Amen, brother. And I say this as a Democrat for only 4 months. Whew, it's been a rough fucking ride.
Wait a minute. Let me just ask you about that before you get to the leaders. So
I knew she was going to drill down. I knew she was going to drill down.
I'm just curious. I think you bravely jumped into the pool with both feet into the deep end. And I mean, they're skeptical. Is that what's happening? Democrats are skeptical of your arrival in their party?
So the way I describe it is, former Tea Party guy becomes a Democrat, and generally the Democratic grassroots has been super enthusiastic. Couldn't stand you, Joe, but welcome to the fight against democracy. The Democratic Party establishment, I've gotten maybe a golf clap. Dave Briggs is right. Because, Alisyn, look, I didn't become a Democrat to run for office. My God, I couldn't get elected as a Democrat anywhere. The Democratic establishment, Dave Briggs is right, just doesn't fucking understand this moment. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't. Chuck Schumer doesn't. Grassroots Democrats do. They're pissed off. They're so pissed off that they would embrace a guy like me, who they despised 6 years ago, to join them. There's a real dichotomy between the Democratic base and leadership in the establishment.
And I want to ask you what I would call now, and I think everyone on the left should be asked, what I call now the Katie Porter question, that she's so eloquently fucked up, and it may cost her the governor's office in California. What do you say to the 77 million people that voted for President Trump when it comes to the No Kings movement and all this energy right now? What do you say to the 77 million that voted for Trump?
Man, I would say what I would say if I were running for office right now as a Democrat. I would say, this is not who we are. Come on, you 77 million. We're better than this. I want a secure border every bit as much as you do, but we don't go after 82-year-old Latino grandmothers who've been in this country for 30 years and throw them into a fucking van, never to be heard from again. We're better than this. Come on, this is not who we are. That's the case I make. And I'll tell you something, Dave. I don't change thousands of...
I don't think that's going to get them.
Well, I
don't.
I don't change thousands of MAGA minds every week. But every week, 1 or 2 MAGA people who I engage with ultimately agree with me and say, Joe, look, I wanted a secure border, but man, I didn't think we'd be doing this shit. I didn't think we'd be grabbing folks off the farm. Who's going to work on our farms? I'm hearing more and more of that. So I think there's something to work with there.
How about that Marjorie Taylor Greene turnaround, where she's realizing we need some people to work on the farms? I mean, I think that's what her motivation is, that she's realizing that in construction, there's not enough workers if everybody's, deported, I think.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is a free agent. She's 100% MAGA, but she's her own MAGA entity that she can kind of speak out on her own, which is what she's done. But you're right, Alisyn, she's looking at the tea leaves. Unless, the Democrats fuck this up, which is perfectly possible, and unless there's not an election in 26, Marjorie recognizes that right now 26 doesn't look good for Republicans. Get your act together.
I'm going to give Marjorie Taylor Greene, for one thing above all else, the thing that she's hitting the most is that what her constituents are telling her is pocketbook issues are killing them and health insurance premiums are about to kill them. She really is actually focused on the things Donald Trump talked about, America first, because by a lot of accounts, it's America last right now as he focuses on Venezuela and Argentina, and of course, Mideast peace, which is important, Ukraine and Russia. It does appear to be flipped, though, doesn't it?
You could almost argue, Dave, that Marjorie is 100% pure America first. Like she's 100% pure MAGA. Again,
I mean, she's crazy.
Well,
she's crazy. I mean, she's doing hot, man. She's space lasers started forest fires, but yes.
No. She's still got all of that. But remember, the Epstein files were a big deal with her too. They're a big deal with the base. And I'll tell you, Trump and Pam Bondi really pissed Marjorie Taylor Greene off when all of a sudden they said there's nothing to see here. I give her a lot of credit for hanging on to that. And Trump's not, look, again, Trump isn't anything but Trump. So I think what you're seeing as these final 3 years of Trump happen, and Alisyn, if he were 20 years younger, Trump would definitely run again. I don't know that he'll physically leave the White House, but you're going to see hardcore MAGA people like Marjorie begin to separate themselves by showing their real pure MAGA bona fides.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're nothing if not unpredictable at the moment in terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Joe, we know you have to go soon, but quickly, I don't want it to become normalized that the president of the United States, the highest office in the land, in the world, can put out an AI generated.
Okay, hold on. Let's show him because I'm glad you brought it up because I felt like we may have buried the lead there. Here is the AI video.
I have not seen it. Oh, there we go. There he goes. Alisyn, amen. This has been my biggest beef in the era of Trump. And I mainly go after your industry, the media. Trump's secret sauce is being normalized. When he's normalized, he fucking wins. He literally lies every time he opens his mouth. The media no longer checks him on any of his lies. He does that. If Biden or Harris, any other politician did an AI video like that, they're done. But we've so normalized him. We shrug our shoulders and say, oh, that's Trump. It's a really bad thing for America. He's the absolute worst of us. And we've normalized him.
Yeah. And I mean, I just want to say that when reporters called the White House, I don't know if it was a press spokesperson. I don't know if it was Caroline Leavitt, and said like, what is that? Like, well, so the president wants to drop feces and excrement on peaceful protesters. The spokesperson, I don't know who it was, I think it was anonymous, said, who cares? Mm-hmm. Here again, that is the cruelty. The cruelty is so jarring. I mean, who cares? That's not how any of our neighbors, our friends, our relatives talk. It's just amazing that that's become normal somehow from our leader.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The vast majority of Americans are not cruel. I just believe that.
Me too.
And so I believe if Democrats just jump on this, but Dave Briggs, you're right. Democrats every one of them sound like a fucking PowerPoint presentation whenever they talk. Yeah. But yeah, talk like regular Americans. Alisyn, that video should just righteously piss all of us off. I want to hear Democrats say that. That's not who we are. Come on.
It's appalling. It's appalling. It's vile. It's appalling. The president, I mean, it stains the office, but we don't, it's such a blizzard, as you say, Joe, of lies, misinformation, and shocking behavior that, we have to move on.
But you're right. But we should be outraged every day. Like there should be something he does or says that outrages us every day. And I just worry that the media just kind of shrugs their shoulders and no longer does.
Well, not here on Sanity, Joe.
Thank you, Alisyn. Thank you, Dave Briggs. You guys
I do have one last question. And by the way, check out the actual White House feed. The actual White House feed is putting out similar images like that.
Yeah.
Not just Trump's Truth Social. My last question, I'll leave you with this. What happens if in a few weeks, blue state New Jersey goes red and the Democrats have, by all indication, a great candidate for governor with military experience, moderate, well-spoken, smart, great leader? What happens despite all this energy if blue state New Jersey goes red? Then what?
If New Jersey goes red, and or Dave, even if Virginia is close, and it shouldn't be close, then Democrats have to engage in the mother of all fucking gut checks, because then it almost doesn't matter who or what Trump is, and then it's all about Democrats. Then just gotta. Then Democrats are way too out of touch. I told you guys when I campaigned for her last year, everybody in the middle told me Trump's an asshole, Joe, but the Democrats are out of touch. My God, if in this climate, New Jersey elects a Republican governor who is a Trumper, then the Democrats may not be able to save themselves.
That is a dire warning for the Democrat Party, and always a pleasure having you, sir.
Oh, my God. Then I'll have to find another party, Dave and Alisyn. Another party. Oh, my God.
Egg party is next. Joe, it is such a pleasure to talk to you. We love your truth speaking and unvarnished nature.
Hey, you too. How about just the sanity party? Just like I'll be sane. Just run for office. You're going to be sane and Alisyn, not cruel. I'm going to be decent and sane.
That's
Dave Briggs?
I will run for that party. I will run for office. I pledge to you, if there is a party that inspires me, I would run.
I'd put Alisyn at the top of the ticket. Dave, you're VP. I'll be like Secretary of Defense or something like that.
Love it, guys. The same.
You're overqualified by Hegseth standards, but thank you.
You can...
It starts here. This is the groundswell. Joe, keep on keeping on.
Love you guys. Thanks, you too.